Welcome back to Audiobooks by H.G. Shuler. Earth Chronicles, Book 1, The Fifth Pinnacle, Chapter 12. One complete rotation of the Earth glided away. The rapid transformation of Harlan Lancaster was now at the center of everyone's talk. The dramatic changes in him during the previous months were now being matched or surpassed by the revelations of the last 24 hours. The universal human aging concept was changing just as Harlan had experienced. The past day was connective, bringing to Harlan's understanding that he was the next chosen one and the hope of all mankind. The fifth pinnacle had arrived. Harlan would be the key to the survival of humankind and possibly the key to every person living forever. He now understood the consequences of Mr. Let's plan, the scope of which Mr. Let himself could never comprehend. Inside Harlan's brain was an awakened transmitter to another realm. The cycle of time in this realm was by definition a different concept than the unit of measurement used by man. Since death didn't exist in this realm, time was less relevant. One solar day was no more than a blink. 1,000 years was a short vacation. Time was counted with 3s, 4s, and 5s instead of 1 as the starting point. 500 years times 3 brought about each successive chosen one. The fifth chosen one could be the complete solution or the complete end of not just humans but all physical matter. Included in this matter were many other inhabitable planets. The purpose all along had been the procreation of man without death and his gradual spread throughout the universe. Those in the other realm, who placed man here 6,000 years ago, were watching them closely. It was a golden, refreshing morning. Every inhale and exhale of breath from the beach is so full of life. Angela's face was just like the landscape. The sunshine was beaming, and shadows from clouds were moving over her in rapid succession. As Harlan watched her, and the few early rising tourists walking barefoot in the sand, it appeared the cycle of life was endless. However, no matter how beautiful the scene was to his eyes, his brain was being candid with him. 8 in every 1,000 people die every day, which amounts to 151,600 or 6,316 per hour. People are dying constantly, and unless someone is affected, it's rarely thought about. Every 100 years, most of the population of the Earth turns over. This is what he's thinking when he feels a face lean against his shoulder. Danny was standing next to him, one of her feet pressed backward against an aqua-colored block wall. "What are you thinking?" she asked, while pressing her face farther into his shoulder. "I was thinking Angela and I need to get to work. There's a lot left to arrange, and there is not much time. Can I come? I won't be a problem. I'll just sit and listen. Really, I want to be with you. You'll probably be bored, but if you wish." 1 hour later, they sat in the office of Angela's apartment. Harlan's face seemed intense, like he's being threatened. He grips his hands and fingers together on the desk in front of him, giving out a dreadful gasp. "I dread going through with this. I'm going to need everyone's help. It will take everyone working together." Danny puts her hand over his to settle his nerves. "You're no coward, and you've never been afraid. You are here to work it out, so work it out." "Yes, I suppose you're right." He looks across the desk at Angela. "It's time for us to go to work." "Fine by me. Are you ready to delve into the secret world of the brain?" "You've got my attention. We're going to have to give Mr. Let an altered state of consciousness. There will be others in the room with him. I can promise you that. Doesn't matter. He has the strongest mind. I promise you the others will be easy." "Sounds reasonable. Where do we start?" "We start by giving you a brief education on the mind. Consciousness exists in many different forms. What we think of as our normal, waking, rational consciousness is just one of them. What we want Mr. Let and his associates to experience is one of the others, an altered state of consciousness. In doing this, they'll think that what they're experiencing is completely normal. If things go according to plan, we can inject them with Carter's memory formula without any interference. They may even want to help us. I thought an altered state of consciousness had to be drug-induced. Are you saying we'll have to slip something into their drinks? Because Mr. Let would see it coming as soon as we arrive. Drug taking produces one extremely specific experience of consciousness. In these cases, most people know that there's been a slight deviation from the normal waking state. It's generally why they drink too much or take other substances. They want the high that it gives them. This is not what we're talking about and wouldn't work in the first place. Being lightheaded or having your senses sharpened or dulled, possibly with a distorted sense of time, would not be effective enough to accomplish our plan. How can something that alters one's consciousness be more powerful than narcotics? Not more powerful, simply different. I want you to think of our everyday consciousness as an iceberg. The visual part of the iceberg on top of the water is only a small portion of what's there. Underneath the water, there's about 5 times more ice, if not more. So, what you're looking at is only the tip of the iceberg. It's the same with everyday consciousness. In some cultures, entering a trance state is considered quite normal. There are several ways to induce it, including the use of lights, humming, and meditation. Some believe that when this altered state happens, you're being possessed by gods. None of this is true. It has to do with the area of your brain that deals with various or altered states of consciousness. All of this is at the front portion of the brain, starting at the top with the prefrontal cortex. Below that is the area that deals with attention. Just in front of that is the emotional response, and underneath is behavior and judgment. Some people believe hypnosis affects this area and creates an altered state of consciousness. However, this is still a big debate among scientists. I personally feel that hypnosis leads only to an altered state of unconsciousness. On the other hand, sleepwalking is considered a state of unconsciousness. But is it really? Sleepwalkers have been witnessed driving a car perfectly, using a knife without hurting themselves, going up and down stairs, even swimming. What this means is that functions associated with waking consciousness are being used. Eyesight, muscle coordination, memory, and so on. So, what's happened is they've fallen or possibly wakened into an altered state of consciousness, the kind that we need to induce on Mr. Let and company. Even during a normal waking day, it is quite common for the brain to drift into brief moments of sleep-like activity. When this happens, we have reduced control over thoughts and actions, thinking what's taking place is normal, even if it's total daydreaming. When we've done this to Mr. Let, it will be like he's sleepwalking or daydreaming. He won't suspect a thing because he still has awareness. He just won't be able to comprehend what should and shouldn't be happening. This is fascinating, Angela. But if we can't use hypnosis or narcotics, and we certainly can invite him into a deep session of meditation, then how do we induce this altered state? That's where your new abilities come in. You must disrupt his sensory perception. You can do this by focusing on his eyes and forehead. Behind those lie his consciousness. So, you're saying I have to take control of his mind? No. If that were possible, Mr. Let would be using it himself. My understanding of the brain seems to dispel that rationale. In fact, I think taking complete control of one's mind might cause damage to it. We're not computers or robots. We're living, breathing flesh. What you can do is affect it, place it into a state of altered consciousness. When you first enter the room, you will need to start with the others, then finish with Mr. Let. He'll take longer because of his unique abilities. But you're much stronger, so it should work. Remember, you can't just glance, you must focus. The eyes will tell you when it's worked. After that, start setting up and injecting them, acting like everything is normal. You might even tell a joke or two to keep a relaxed atmosphere. And remember, you have a limited amount of time. I can't say for sure, but sleepwalking lasts about 10 minutes on average, sometimes a little less, sometimes more. That's pretty much it. Harlan, you've got several days to practice on people. I'm here for you. You're going to do fine. Any questions? Is there a plan B? They don't know what's coming. What'd go wrong? Other than Carter and Jen, we'll all be with you in the room, supporting you. I just got a feeling is all. It's normal to be nervous in stressful situations. By the time the day arrives, you'll be fine. I keep thinking all our efforts will end with only a consolation. But I can't think of anything to be done that hasn't already been done. Relax, Harlan. Getting used to a new awareness will take some time. You're gonna do fine. We all are. You have an amazing brain, the most amazing of any man who came before you. You are the chosen one. You know that, right? Yes. The other realm? They've already made a connection with me. Then don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself time. You've changed so much so fast. Thank you, Angela. I'll work on that. For now, though, I'm going to the beach. What for? By now, there'll be lots of people there. I want to practice over and over until I'm completely comfortable with it. I want it to be natural, not at all noticeable. Maybe you should eat some breakfast first. You too, Danny. Solomon Ray Lett stood at the edge of the room overlooking Lexington's skyline of high-rise buildings and elongated silver clouds. His three-piece suit had a deep gloss to it, tacitly emphasizing his importance. His brilliant-looking wife appeared bored holding a partially filled champagne glass. Her emerald green gown proclaimed her insignificant interest and disregard for the important matter at stake. In total, there were 11 people in the room, which was on the 5th floor of the museum hotel. 3 sat on a large sectional sofa, 3 more in tall bar-like chairs, the others standing at various locations sipping drinks and blending in with a nicely arranged chrome-trim furniture. Soon there's a rustling of bodies, heads turn announcing the opening of the door. 2 female faces are the first to enter, that of Angela and Grace. The next are James, then Harlan and Danny. Behind them, old Jack leans his head in, holding tight to the doorknob. He brought his whole darn entourage. If you like, I can remove them. Solomon hesitates while looking at Harlan. He takes a sip from his glass, then waves a dismissive hand. No, Jack. No need to interfere. Shut the door behind you. Next, he twists his body, turning directly at James. Everyone needs their friends with them when making important decisions. Don't they, James? Friends? Yes. He glances around the room. It seems you filled the place with yours. Nevertheless, I'm pleased you brought your own. It shows you're not play-acting. You are ready to swear your allegiance to the cause and not your contempt. Tell me I'm right about that. There are words for how I feel, but I have no contempt. As for you, Solomon, I have a great deal of admiration. It saddens me to think of where man's hope would be today without the formula, which was of your invention. Not only that, but you were flawless in how you open it up to others like me. It was a display of sheer genius. I think it was my greatest accomplishment splitting the globe 7 ways, revealing the formula to 7 people on the 7 continents. Now here we are, all these years later, the final stage in putting the Earth back to where it started. Do you mind if I ask, why now? You could have done this at any point in the past, hundreds of years ago. He takes another quick sip, this time finishing it off and jerking the glass back. You think you know, don't you, James? It's the scientist in you, so I'll try to overlook it. In a fleeting pass, Solomon glances at Harlan. I'm constantly reminded of the past. A white glow is quickly streaming outward, forming a circle around him. Temporarily, his body pulsates in a colorful display of light. Settle yourself down. His wife shouts sarcastically. You'll blow up the whole freaking room with all of us in it. I never came close to where I am now. He starts calming down. It was always kept at a distance from me. They never helped me. I would have been so grateful. But they never offered, not even once. Who never offered? Who are you referring to? You know exactly who I'm talking about. Our inventors, those who placed us here. The other freaking realm, Zion. I think they chose me because I was trained extensively in the art of mixing potions and in the science of the day, which didn't amount to much. They visited me many times. Until recently, they've watched me. For over a decade, I was tested. They filled my room with mathematical problems. I spent year after year solving them, in total 12 years, and not once did they ever help. It all started when I was first inaugurated as king. As soon as I was situated in my new accommodations, the math problems started appearing. No one could see them but myself. When I cracked the formula, I thought they would be satisfied. I thought maybe then they would do away with death forever and bring things back to the way they were in the beginning. Instead, they acted like it was nothing, and they just kept watching me. I can see why you're troubled. Still, they knew you would eventually crack the code and make the formula. What you did with the formula is what they were really interested in. How could I be expected to know what the objective was? For decades, I wouldn't even use it on anyone but myself. I thought they wanted me to rule the world, to be a better ruler than any who came before me. Did you know my father was a king? No, I had never heard that. That's because it's been a very long time. You've heard of Solomon in the good book? His stories are based on you. Not exactly. I'm one of his many sons. It's how I ended up a king, at least for a time. People adored your father. What about you? Some, yes, but others not so much. Unlike my father, the Queen of Sheba didn't care for me. We knew her as Queen Makeda. She came from modern-day Ethiopia. She was a prissy petite thing who visited my father when she was young, and later, when she was older, she visited me. She wasn't at all what people think of her, and not nearly as beautiful as she wanted to be. She didn't come to hear my wisdom like my father, although she did put me to the test. She came to scout out the land for a possible invasion. That kind of thing was common in those days. I even once sent a huge caravan to visit her for the same purpose. I was still miffed about her attempt. Some say that I sent the Ark of the Covenant as a show of good faith. Some even say that's where it ended up and is there to this day. None of that is remotely true. Anyway, during her visit, she found out I couldn't be tricked. It miffed her and she left, never to return. Before she left, she did talk me out of some pretty nice things, I have to admit. She was witty, which I admired about her. Nonetheless, what she left with was nothing compared with my vast fortune at the time. There were others like her that came and went. Being king keeps you busier than people realize. For a couple of years, I didn't even try to solve the mathematical problems that had been given to me. When I got back to it and subsequently broke the code, I had to spend decades covering up my age. Everyone was far more religious during that time. When I didn't appear to be aging, there were rumblings that I had made a deal with the devil. The royal guard foiled several attempts on my life. I became a master of disguise, using my chemical mixing abilities to produce makeup that helped me match my age to my number of years. Eventually, I had to fake my own death. After that, I fled into Arabia and started a new life. Naturally, I had lost the favor of the other realm by then. It was a long time before I got back to trying to figure out what to do with the formula. James, you remind me of the Queen of Sheba. Why do you say that? You underestimate me, just like she did. I don't think I've underestimated you at all. I won't be tricked. I can't be. She came on a pretense. She was really looking for trouble. You're looking for trouble, too. I can sense it. Yes, but in a good way. No, and I'll prove it. How are you with dreams, James? Dreams? You heard me. Or maybe I should ask, how are you with sleepwalking or an altered state of consciousness? As I said, you underestimate me. What did you expect? At the end of it all, I expected you to do the right thing, and I still do. I am doing the right thing. No, you're trying to prolong the agony. You haven't spent years seeing death the way I have. Who told you? And don't tell me you just sensed it. I know better than that. You think you know things like how deep this really goes, but you can't even begin to know the half of it. I know your abilities don't reach that far. I'll ask again. Who told you? Tell him, Solomon. He deserves to know. Everyone does. Solomon jerks his head around to his wife. You could die for this. Is that what you want? She sets her glass on a small table and walks over to him. I'm just drunk enough not to give a damn anymore. You've kept me alive for over 2,000 years. I'm tired of watching you walk around in those fancy suits like the sun shoots out of you, when what you really do is use people. You use them and dump them, hundreds of them, have for thousands of years. I never let go of anyone who didn't deserve it. That's a lie and you know it. He grabs her by the arm and shoves her backward. Sit down and shut it up, or I'll send you back to where I found you. Moscow's not an easy place to live these days. Moscow has never been an easy place to live. You should apologize for all the secrecy. You don't want me to apologize with ice on my tongue, do you? Tell him, or I'll tell him myself. Solomon glances a moment at Danny, making direct eye contact. Then in quick succession, his eyes go to Harlan, then back to James. Your perception of everything you think you know is about to change, James. I'm not even sure you can take it. You've always been so many steps behind. I don't know what made you think you could compete with somebody like me. How arrogant of you. We've known about the Chosen One from the exact moment of his appearing. We knew to the day when he would appear, and I sensed that you had him immediately. After that, it was easy. I give you credit for using Angela to test him. She's been a big asset to you. I would have liked to have had her by my side. Did it never strike you as strange that you never knew who the fourth Chosen One was? Never. You told me it's the way he wanted it, that he was the reserve type. You told me he was more comfortable with assisting than leading. I had no reason not to believe you. For starters, James, he's not a he, but in fact a woman. Out of the previous 4 Chosen Ones, 2 have been women, and 2 have been men. The latest of the Chosen, the 5th, is of course, as you already know, a man. He glances at Harlan. The first Chosen couldn't give up his power after his time was up. He fought the second, a female. Their battle is what started the rebellion. When one killed the other, that one was put to death by Zion. It's never been allowed for a Chosen to kill another Chosen. I was the 3rd Chosen, and although I didn't know it at the time, it was thought a Chosen One could right man's plight. Some of these things you already know, but what you don't know is that the 4th Chosen One is also in this room. You look surprised, James. That brings us to the 5th Chosen One. You actually thought you could bring him here, and I wouldn't know it. He glances again at Harlan. You seem surprised the second time. Something else you don't know is that the 4th Chosen One, being the more powerful one, is in charge. She orchestrated everything. I'm only a cover. It shows her brilliance, wouldn't you agree? James looks around the room. There are 3 women other than Solomon's wife, one standing, the other 2 sitting. They were already in the room when he arrived. Are you going to tell me which one it is, or is she going to tell me herself? Again, you disappoint me. Still, you think you know how deep this goes, but you have no real clue. You never even thought about looking at the women that came in with you. Solomon turns to Harlan. Are you starting to get it now? Your powers aren't what you think. They won't be complete for years to come. We were able to keep her a secret from you, and right under your very nose. Your own girlfriend, or so you thought. Daniela, darling, it's been 1,500 years, but the cat's out of the bag. It's time for you to take center stage. She turns to her left and whispers into Harlan's ear. No matter what happens, I did fall for you. But I can't change. I never will. He remains silent as she walks to the center of the room and begins talking. I remember when I came out of Russia, the part that's now Finland. Sorry, Harlan, I can't recall even once ever visiting West Virginia. You were so easy to fool, like a young schoolboy. In a way, you are. Your powers are so new to you. Anyway, I went into Caledonia, which was part of Britannia, ruled by Great Britain at the time. Solomon tutored me there for years. All told, we stayed on that island for some 50 years. He helped me understand my powers and to reach my potential. We could do the same for you. Harlan, you need it. You just don't know it yet. A space opens around Harlan as the others start moving out of the way. No one is standing between him and Danny. What happens if I don't join you? That's your first question for me? I can see this is going to be a memorable conversation. And another thing, have you used your powers to kill before? You've got to be kidding me. Answer the question. I deserve that much. If you must know, then yes. But it's not what it seems. It doesn't matter. If you've used your powers to kill, you'll kill again. Yes, but it's for the good of man. It's always been for the good of man. Are you planning on killing someone in this room? Today, there's a rule. A chosen one can't kill another chosen one. If they try, our watchers will intercede. If we try to kill you, we will lose our own lives. It's happened before, you know that. So relax. I'm not worried about me. I never was. None of your friends will be harmed if they join us. But time is running out. We're almost ready to implement our plan. I can't hold off much longer. It would jeopardize certain regions, set us back another year. I beg you, Harlan, all of you, don't be stubborn. There's no time for protest or struggle. In the end, this is going to happen, with or without you. You look puzzled and tormented, Harlan. Shut up, Solomon, and wipe that grin off your face. But he doesn't know you, Daniela. Let me have my fun. You don't know this woman, Harlan. Someday I'll tell you, but there's no time now. You're starting to see her now, though, aren't you? Inside, she's really laughing herself sick. She tore your heart out by the roots. Stop it, Solomon. It's too much. It will be impossible to believe her now. Put an end to your torment. Join us, and everything is all well again. Don't let James and Angela fill your mind with innumerable doubts, some picked up and some invented. Act quickly and firmly. Do it now. That's exactly what I plan to do. I won't be a part of your mass executions. He turns to Danny. The 2 men at the beach, under the pier. You were testing me? I needed to know how far along you were with your powers. So, I made sure those 2 rednecks saw me take the money. I knew they would chase me. The look on their faces when the energy came out of you. You were spectacular. There's so much more. Let us help you reach your potential. You'll be amazed, I promise. Amazed? Yes, I suppose so. An interesting word, amazed. It's the past tense of amaze. It's more than being surprised. It's being filled with astonishment, like your breath is taken away. While it's true that we underestimated you and Solomon today, it's also true that you two have underestimated us. Or maybe I should say me. Since I'm the latest chosen one, and the powers of the latest are always greater than the previous ones, you don't really know what my powers are. What you've seen from me to this point is only what any regenerated one can do. I have been given understanding and abilities that have not been afforded to any prior chosen ones. No, we've been watching you for months. You, Danny, are the one who will be amazed. You have no idea what a direct connection to the invisible realm can do. And that's what I've been given. What you perceive on this earth is only 1/4 of the reality. The universe is not alone. It has brothers and sisters. There are, in reality, 3 other dimensions. You've heard terms like alternate realities or parallel universe. A more accurate term would be multiverse because there are 4 universes, including our own. The physics and mathematics involved are staggering to the mind. Am I taking your breath away yet? Danny, you're bluffing. It can't be. We would have known. And yet you didn't until I just told you. And that's not all. I can move between these dimensions, and if I choose, I could take others with me. So, we might not have one today, but we certainly haven't lost. Not yet. What you are about to see, I promise you, it will take your breath away. A slight rumble starts up. At first it seems distant, like a huge tank is moving toward them. Straight away the room starts to agitate. What's that vibration? What are you doing? Stop it. You're going to shake the building down. No, I'm just sending notice to you that you're up against more than you've imagined. The next time we talk, I hope you'll be more agreeable. All at once, there is a high-pitched shrieking noise, and the room is instantly filled with a striking blue fluorescence. The building wobbles violently like they are amid an earthquake. The vivid, bright blue glow hangs in the air and seems painted on the furniture, the artwork, and the walls. The atmosphere, now determined by the brilliant fluorescence, begins to lose its visibility. It's impossible to see, and the sound of things thrusting up then crashing down causes panic to set in. Everyone is reaching out, trying to grab hold of something to brace themselves. As the shaking starts to lessen, and the air slowly begins clearing, remnants of the fluorescence pulsates a dull blue light out of the bodies of all those in the room. Finally, when the air clears and the pulsating stops, it's quickly obvious that there are 4 people missing, James, Grace, Angela, and Harlan. My God, what has happened? Daniela. Zion is helping them. That's what? Are you sure? No. I need to think.
That's the conclusion of Chapter 12, The Fifth Pinnacle. Return to hear Chapter 13 of Earth Chronicles, Book 1 on H.G. Shuler at YouTube.